Mary's hands trembled as she counted the coins, while Brad, the cashier, crossed his arms and let out an impatient sigh. "Come on, lady, this isn't a bank," he grumbled. All eyes turned to her, and Liam, the little boy holding the box of cookies his mother used to buy, stood motionless. Before Mary could say a word, a firm, deep voice cut through the tense atmosphere. "That's enough!" No one could have imagined that the man standing behind them would change everything. But before we continue, tell us, where are you watching from? And do you believe that kindness can change the world? If so, take this opportunity to subscribe, because tomorrow we will have another powerful story for you. The sun shone brightly on the quiet streets, spreading a soft golden light across the ground. Mary and her grandson Liam were walking toward the market, while a light breeze rustled the leaves of the trees, bringing a momentary coolness to relieve the midday heat. Mary, wearing her usual simple outfit, a worn but impeccably clean dress, walked with steady steps, her small coin purse tucked safely in her pocket. Liam, only 8 years old, held her hand tightly, his eyes sparkling with curiosity and innocence as he looked up at the imposing storefront. The automatic doors opened with a soft hiss, inviting them inside. The market was bustling, shoppers crisscrossed the aisles, carts clattered on the linoleum floor, and cash registers beeped in a rhythmic sequence. For many, it was an ordinary day. For Mary, every trip to the market was a task of precise calculation, a delicate balance between what was necessary and what could be a luxury. She guided Liam through the aisles, her fingers gently brushing the price tags as she mentally calculated the budget. A bag of rice, a carton of milk, a loaf of bread, the basics, nothing more. Each item was chosen carefully, as one mistake would mean giving up something else for the rest of the week. But Liam was drawn to the colorful packages on the shelves, his gaze lingering on the treats he rarely got to enjoy. When they reached the cookie aisle, his little feet stopped abruptly. On the second shelf was a box of chocolate cookies, wrapped in blue and white, the same brand his mother used to buy for him. Liam's face lit up. "Grandma, these are the ones Mom used to buy for me. Can we get them?" he asked, his voice full of hope and excitement. Mary's heart ached when she heard the name Emily, her beloved daughter and Liam's mother. It had been 2 years since the accident that took her away, but her presence was still alive in the simplest details of everyday life. Seeing that box of cookies brought back a flood of memories, both happy and painful. She hesitated, looking at the item in the boy's hands. It wasn't essential, unlike rice or milk. The budget was too tight indeed. But then, looking at Liam's face, at the innocent sparkle in his eyes, so much like Emily's, she remembered the promise she had made to her daughter. She would do anything to protect her grandson's happiness, to spare him the burden of hardship. After a long pause, Mary smiled and placed the box in the cart. "Of course, my love," she said, hiding the apprehension in her chest. Liam smiled, unaware of the silent sacrifice she had just made. As they walked to the checkout, Mary's fingers tightened around the small bag of coins in her pocket, hoping that what she was carrying would be enough. But what she didn't know was that fate had a surprise in store for them that day. Mary approached the counter cautiously, her heart beating faster than normal. She had counted the coins beforehand, but the fear of having miscalculated brought a wave of anxiety. What if it wasn't enough? She pushed those thoughts away and began placing the items on the conveyor belt, careful not to drop anything. Liam, still holding the box of cookies, placed it on the counter with both hands, looking at his grandmother with an expectant smile. "These are the cookies Mom always bought," he said cheerfully, his voice full of affection and longing. Brad, the cashier, a middle-aged man, barely glanced at them as he scanned the items with quick, impatient movements. His fingers tapped nervously on the counter, waiting for Mary to pay. When she took out her coin purse, his expression changed. He let out a loud, exaggerated sigh. "Coins, really?" he muttered, crossing his arms. "This isn't a bank, ma'am." Mary's hands trembled slightly as she opened her purse, her weathered fingers rummaging through the few coins she had. She had done this many times before, but under Brad's critical gaze, every movement seemed slow and clumsy. He shook his head, his voice full of irritation. "You don't know how to count, do you? You should have counted these coins at home before coming here. You're holding everyone up." Murmurs began to spread through the growing line behind her. Mary felt her face flush and tried to speed up, but the weight of her embarrassment only made her hands shake even more. "I'm sorry," she muttered, almost inaudibly. Brad let out a sarcastic laugh. "Sorry doesn't cut it, lady. Next time, bring a card like normal people." A man in the line behind her stepped forward. "Hey, that's not necessary. Let her pay at her own pace." Brad rolled his eyes. "Come over here and count those coins yourself, buddy. Meanwhile, I'll try to keep the line moving." Liam looked at his grandmother, sensing the tension, but not understanding why the man was being so cruel. He gently tugged at Mary's sleeve. "It's okay, Grandma. Don't be sad," he whispered sweetly. Mary swallowed the lump in her throat and continued counting, but when she reached the last coins, she realized with growing fear that she didn't have enough. Her heart sank. She took a deep breath and looked at Liam, who was still staring at the cookies with hopeful eyes. "I think we'd better leave the cookies," she said, forcing a smile. "Just the other items." Liam hesitated but soon nodded, his voice firm despite the disappointment in his eyes. "It's okay, Grandma. I didn't really feel like cookies anyway." Mary's heart broke. She knew he was trying to protect her, sparing her the guilt. Brad picked up the cookie box with an exaggerated gesture and threw it aside. "Now maybe we can get this line moving," he muttered finally. Mary kept her head down, struggling to maintain her composure as the weight of humiliation weighed heavily on her. And then, just when she thought she couldn't feel any smaller, a calm, deep, firm voice cut through the air. "Enough!" The words were spoken with control, in a tone that demanded attention without raising the voice. A silence spread through the checkout area like a wave across still water. Mary finally looked up. A man stepped out of the line, tall and serene, dressed in a black coat and sunglasses. His presence changed the energy of the store. Although he hadn't raised his voice, there was something in his tone, something firm and unshakable, that made even Brad fall silent. Brad turned to him, rolling his eyes. "Who are you, anyway?" "Her lawyer," the man replied with a smirk, trying to maintain control of the situation. The man slowly took off his sunglasses, revealing a face that many would recognize in an instant. His expression was calm, but his eyes were sharp and focused. "No," he replied, his voice steady, "just someone who doesn't tolerate disrespect." A murmur ran through the crowd. Someone spoke loud enough to be heard. "Wait, is that Jackie Chan?" Brad's smile disappeared, his posture stiffening as he recognized the name. His mouth opened slightly, but no words came out. Jackie took a step forward. "Do you always treat your customers like this, or is today a special day?" Brad swallowed hard, clearly taken by surprise. "Look, sir, I'm just trying to keep the line moving. She's holding everyone up." Jackie tilted his head. "She's paying just like everyone else." "What gives you the right to treat her like that?" Brad didn't know how to respond. The murmurs in the line grew louder. The customers were no longer just spectators, they were witnesses. For the first time that afternoon, Mary felt something other than shame. She felt hope. A tense silence hung in the air as Brad tried to find an answer. He looked around, seeking support from the waiting customers, but found only disapproving glances. The weight of his own words was beginning to take its toll. Jackie Chan, standing tall and calm, kept his gaze fixed on Brad. There was no anger, no shouting, just a quiet, firm authority. "She's paying just like everyone else," Jackie repeated. "What gives you the right to treat her differently?" Brad let out a nervous laugh, still trying to save his pride. "Look, I'm just saying she's taking too long. It's not fair to the other customers." Jackie crossed his arms. "Fair? What's not fair is humiliating a grandmother in front of her grandson just because she's paying with coins. What's not fair is making someone feel small when all they want is to buy food." A murmur of agreement rippled through the line. Someone nodded. Someone else whispered, "He's right." Brad shifted uncomfortably, his confidence crumbling. Jackie turned to Mary with a gentle expression, looking at the few groceries still on the counter. His eyes landed on the box of cookies Liam wanted so badly. Without hesitation, he picked it up and placed it with the other items. "Those cookies look delicious," he said with a warm smile. "I think they should definitely go home with you today." Mary's lips parted, but no words came out. She looked at Jackie and then at Liam, who was watching him with wide eyes, amazed. "But Mary began, her voice failing, trembling. Jackie raised his hand, gently interrupting her. "No buts. This isn't charity, it's just a little kindness." He turned to Brad, firm. "Cancel that purchase. Let's start over." Brad blinked, confused. "Cancel?" Jackie nodded firmly. "I'll pay for it, and since we're here, let's do something better." He turned to Mary and Liam. "Let's get another cart, a real one." Liam's eyes lit up with excitement. "You mean we can get more stuff?" Jackie smiled. "Not just more, everything you need." Mary shook her head, overcome with emotion. "I can't, it's not possible." Jackie placed his hand gently on her shoulder. "You've done so much for Liam. Now it's your turn to let someone do something for you." Tears filled Mary's eyes. Years of struggle, sacrifice, and effort to survive. And now a stranger, a famous one at that, was offering help without expecting anything in return. Liam looked at her, full of hope. "Can we, Grandma? Please, please." Mary took a deep breath, overcome with emotion, and nodded. "Thank you so much from the bottom of my heart." Jackie gave her a reassuring nod, grabbed an empty cart, and said, "All right, champ, you lead the way." What happened next seemed like a dream. Jackie walked with them through the aisles, encouraging Mary to choose what she needed: fresh vegetables, groceries, even some treats for Liam. He made sure she picked up hygiene items, warm clothes, and anything that would last. Every time she hesitated, he just smiled and said, "Go ahead, you deserve it." Liam, almost jumping with joy, chose a new toy truck. He looked at his grandmother for approval. When she nodded, he turned to Jackie with the biggest smile in the world. "Thank you, Mr. Jackie." Jackie laughed. "Any time, buddy." When they got to the checkout, the cart was full, more than Mary had ever imagined. This time there was no tension or embarrassment, only gratitude. If you like stories about acts of kindness, leave the number 9 in the comments. Jackie personally took care of the payment, making sure everything went smoothly. The new cashier, visibly moved by the gesture, quickly scanned the items. When the final total appeared, Jackie swiped his card without hesitation. The customers behind them applauded silently, and some even wiped away tears. Mary, still holding Jackie's arm, whispered, "I'll never be able to repay you." Jackie shook her head. "It's not about repaying, it's about helping when we can." As they prepared to leave, he looked at Brad one last time. The cashier, who had been silent throughout the entire purchase, now looked deeply uncomfortable. Jackie's voice was calm, but firm. "Kindness is the only thing that truly changes the world. Remember that." Brad swallowed hard and gave a small nod. For the first time, his expression was not defensive, but thoughtful. Mary, Liam, and Jackie left the market together, Liam smiled, hugging his toy, while Mary squeezed Jackie's hand one last time. When they reached the parking lot, Mary looked at him and said softly, "You didn't just change our day, you changed our lives." Jackie smiled. That was the idea. The market doors closed behind them, and Mary carried heavier bags than usual. But for the first time in a long time, that weight felt light. Liam held the toy truck tightly in one hand and the box of cookies in the other, jumping a little as he walked. Jackie followed them, a quiet warmth in his eyes, watching his grandmother and grandson, who now carried something that had been missing for a long time. Relief. Inside the market, the energy had changed. The customers who witnessed the scene were no longer just shoppers, but part of something bigger. A woman at the front of the line wiped away tears, while a man who had previously seemed impatient now nodded in admiration. Brad, standing behind the cash register, stared at the counter as if he were seeing it for the first time. He had humiliated an elderly woman in front of her grandson. He had been cruel, impatient, and dismissive. But instead of anger, Jackie Chan offered him something much more powerful, a lesson. With a lump in his throat, Brad turned and walked silently to the stockroom, disappearing between the shelves. Mary turned to Jackie, still shaken. "I can't believe it. No one has ever done anything like that for us." Jackie smiled gently. "Sometimes life puts us in the right place, at the right time. Today, that place was here." Liam tugged at Jackie's sleeve. "Mr. Jackie." Jackie crouched down to be at the boy's height. "Yes, buddy?" Liam spoke in a small voice full of admiration. "You're like a real hero." Jackie laughed, shaking his head. "You know, Liam, real heroes aren't just in the movies. They're the ones who take care of the people they love, like your grandma does for you every day." Liam looked at Mary, squeezing her hand even tighter as slow applause broke out nearby. Jackie turned and saw a few customers gathered outside, their faces lit up with admiration. In a few moments, the applause grew, echoing across the parking lot. "Bravo, Jackie," someone shouted. Another voice added, "The world needs more people like you." Mary wiped a tear from her cheek as an elderly lady approached, holding her hand. "My dear, you deserve all this kindness. Take good care of that boy and remember, you are never alone." Mary's voice faltered, caught in her throat. "Thank you," she whispered. Brad reappeared, but his usual arrogance had disappeared. He walked slowly toward Mary, hesitating before speaking. I'm sorry," he said, his voice lower than before. "I shouldn't have treated you like that. I was wrong." Mary studied him for a long moment before offering a small nod of forgiveness. "Everyone has bad days," she said softly. "Just try to be better." Brad swallowed hard. "I will." Later, the market manager, who had witnessed everything, announced a new training initiative for employees, focused on empathy and respect. Determined to redeem himself, Brad volunteered to lead the sessions. Several days had passed since that unforgettable afternoon at the market, but Mary still felt like she was living a dream. Every time she opened the pantry, now filled with more food than she had ever dreamed of, a wave of gratitude washed over her. Liam was happier than ever, playing with his new toy truck and enjoying the cookies his mother used to buy. His laughter filled the small apartment, a sound Mary wished she could keep forever. As she put away the last of her groceries, the phone rang. Mary hesitated. She rarely received calls. With a slight frown, she answered the phone. "Hello?" "Hi, Mary, it's Jackie." His voice made her almost drop the phone. "Jackie," she stammered, surprised. I didn't expect to hear from you." Jackie's voice remained warm and steady. "I hope you and Liam are doing well." Mary sat down, still in disbelief. "We are. I don't know how to thank you. You've done more than I could ever repay." "You don't have to repay me," Jackie said gently. "Actually, I called to share something." Mary gripped the phone tighter. I've talked to some people, and we've decided to do more for you both, Jackie continued. I want to pay for Liam's education. He'll have access to the best opportunities we can offer. Mary's breath caught. I don't know what to say. You don't have to say anything. Just accept it, he said, laughing. Liam is a brilliant child, and I want to make sure he can pursue his dreams. Tears filled Mary's eyes. There had been so many nights of worrying about the future, wondering if she could give Liam the life he deserved, and now, unexpectedly, an answer had arrived. Jackie, this is unbelievable, she whispered. I don't even know how to thank you. You already have, he replied, by being the amazing grandmother that you are. Little did Mary know that a customer at the market had recorded the moment when Jackie stepped in to defend her. The video quickly spread across social media, and thousands of comments began to pour in. This is the kind of example the world needs. Jackie Chan is an angel on earth. This reminds me to be kinder in my daily life. The market also underwent changes, inspired by Jackie's actions. The manager announced new training for employees, focused on empathy and customer respect. And Brad, determined to improve, volunteered to lead the training sessions. More than that, he sought out Mary personally one afternoon. I didn't know what you were going through, he admitted sincerely. That's no excuse, but I want you to know that I'm trying to be a better person. Mary smiled kindly. That's all anyone can do. A few weeks later, Mary and Liam sat on a park bench, watching the golden sunset on the horizon. Liam kicked a brand new soccer ball, one of the few things he had chosen while shopping with Jackie. As he ran, his laughter carried on the wind. A black car pulled up nearby. Jackie got out casually, holding a small package in his hands. Mary was startled but smiled when she saw him. Hello, Mary, he said with a warm smile. I thought you and Liam would like this. He handed her the package. Inside were framed photos, snapshots from that day at the market. One of Mary and Liam at the checkout, another of Jackie kneeling down talking to the boy, and a last one of the three of them smiling, surrounded by people who had witnessed something extraordinary. There was also a handwritten note. To remember that kindness always wins. Mary pressed the frames to her chest, her heart overflowing. You didn't just change our lives, she said, her voice breaking. You gave us hope. Jackie smiled, looking at Liam kicking the ball again. You inspired me as much as I inspired you. Meanwhile, Mary blinked back tears and nodded, feeling deeply moved. Jackie sat down next to them, watching the sky slowly turn shades of pink and orange. She realized that this wasn't just the end of a story, but the beginning of something new. Something filled with hope, kindness, and the reminder that even the smallest act of kindness can change a life forever. If this story touched your heart, remember, we all have the power to be that person for someone else. A simple gesture, a kind word, or even raising your voice in defense of what is right can create waves that reach far beyond what we can imagine. If you believe in the power of kindness, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. And don't miss tomorrow when we'll bring you another inspiring story that will warm your soul. Leave the word trust in the comments to attract good things into your life.